Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you are joining us from the West Coast. On behalf of the Social Sciences and Humanity Research Council, or SHRC, I would like to welcome you and thank you for joining us for the announcement of the final 5 winners for our annual Storytellers Challenge. My name is Jerry Melo-Sango, and I'm a SHRC Program Officer with the Research Training Portfolio Team, the team that manages SHRC Talent Program. The talent program includes funding opportunities for those closer to the beginning of the academic journey, such as the doctoral and the postdoctoral awards and the Canada Graduate Scholarships. And it also includes the annual Impact Awards, the SHRC highest honor, which is the funding opportunity that I have a good fortune to help administer. I'm very excited to meet you today. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. Our speaker at this event will be alternating between English and French, so simultaneous interpretation can be accessed via the global icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Closed captioning is also available. Please check the chat for the link to the service, which will open a new browser. Finalement, je souhaite vous informer que l'événement aujourd'hui est enregistré et accessible au public en direct. Nous salutations à toutes les personnes qui nous suivent aujourd'hui par l'entremise de YouTube, par la diffusion en continu. Nous relayons l'événement en anglais, mais en utilisant le lien fourni. Vous pouvez aussi avoir accès au sous-titrage codé en français. Nous invitons toutes les personnes qui ont une présence sur les médias sociaux à nous suivre et à effectuer des publications pendant les événements en prenant soin d'inclure le mot « clic » en anglais, #SHRC Storytellers en un seul mot, et ou en français, mot-clic récit SSHRC. Contribuer à promouvoir les histoires inspirantes des étudiants dont nous soulignons le travail aujourd'hui. Et j'ai maintenant l'honneur de présenter le président du SSHRC, Ted Hewitt, qui sera notre maître de cérémonie. Bon événement à tous. Ted, tu as la parole.
Thank you, Jerry. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that SHRC's offices are situated on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. As we are meeting in a virtual environment today and from various locations, I also acknowledge from coast to coast to coast the ancestral and unceded territory of all First Nations, Inuit and Métis peoples who call home. The Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council is the federal agency responsible for supporting and promoting the very best in social sciences and humanities research and talent. Last year, we provided more than 5,000 grants, fellowships, and scholarships to scholars and talented graduates, students such as those you will see celebrated at our event today. The annual Storytellers Challenge started nearly 10 years ago, in fact. Each year, it highlights just some of the exceptional and important work that SHRC-funded researchers and students in the humanities and social sciences are doing every single day. Le concours J'ai une histoire à raconter invite les étudiants et étudiantes de nouveau postsecondaire de tout le pays à démontrer en 3 minutes ou 300 mots comment un projet de recherche mené au sein de leur établissement et financé par le CRSH a un impact sur la vie des Canadiens et des Canadiens. Ce concours, unique en son genre, encourage les nouveaux chercheurs à trouver des moyens novateurs et créatifs de faire connaître un projet de recherche et à démontrer son impact à un vaste public comprenant des personnes extérieures à leur domaine d'études et provenant de tous les secteurs. Aujourd'hui, nous félicitons les 25 finalistes du concours de cette année. Parmi ces personnes qui viennent de partout au pays, Nous annoncerons bientôt les 5 lauréates et lauréats. Vous pourrez alors entendre leur histoire inspirante et en apprendre davantage sur elles et eux dans le cadre d'une foire aux questions. Avant d'entrer dans le vif au sujet, j'ai le privilège de demander à M. Andy Fillmore, secrétaire parlementaire du ministre de l'Innovation, des Sciences et de l'Industrie et député d'Halifax, de lancer officiellement la cérémonie et d'annoncer nos lauréats et lauréates. Monsieur Fillmore, la parole est à vous.
Thank you very much, Ted. It's Andy Fillmore here. You know, I'm standing in for Minister François-Philippe Champagne today. It's my great honor. I'm the Member of Parliament for Halifax, and today I'm joining you in my role as the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, François-Philippe Champagne, as it is this federal department with which the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council is associated with. So thank you for having me today. I'd also like to begin by acknowledging that I'm speaking to you from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. Merci, Monsieur Hewitt, de cette aimable présentation. Je suis heureux d'être parmi vous à l'occasion du Congrès 2022. My thanks to Dr. Hewitt for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to join you all at this year's Congress. Now, through grants and fellowships and scholarships, SSHRC supports the excellent work of Canada's social science and humanities students and researchers. And especially in this period of increased social polarization, this work is absolutely critical. It helps to build knowledge and understanding about people, not only as individuals, but also as cultures and societies. What's more, it prepares the next generation of talented and creative thinkers and doers. Today at SSHRC Storytellers Challenge Showcase, we're honoring 5 such thinkers and doers, rising to the top from hundreds of submissions by post-secondary students across the country. It is my deep honor to announce the names of this year's final 5 winners. So enormous congratulations to Ariana Ellis from the University of Toronto, Zora Farron from Simon Fraser University, Arvind Jagayat from Toronto Metropolitan University, Vinci Lee from York University, and Victoria Waghiren from Wilfrid Laurier University. Please join me in a round of virtual applause for these 5 talented young individuals. Their work is fascinating. Zora's, for example, shows us how urban soundscapes can reflect our community's values. Arvind's proposes clever new systems to combat online information, and Ariana's transports us to early modern Florence in the 16th century. Their research also puts existing social systems under the microscope, like Victoria's project, which looks at the lived experiences of people touched by the Ontario child placement system, and Vinci's, which investigates the phenomenon of Canadians crowdfunding for medical costs. Toutes mes félicitations. Congratulations to you all. I'm eager to hear more about your incredible research, so let me end with this. In today's changing world, social science and humanities research is needed more now, perhaps, than ever. As we face such big challenges as global pandemics and climate change, we must work to better understand each other and the systems that people put in place to function as a society. In one example that Dr. Hewitt shared with me in a recent conversation, had social scientists been more included in the rollout of pandemic health measures over the past 2 years, we very likely would have seen much less vaccine hesitancy and resistance. And so these 5 projects represent exactly the work that we must do to promote the need for collective action and understanding to conquer these challenges together. Each of you has achieved so much already, and with your dedication to research and research communications, I know you will all have a very bright future, which means a bright future for all of us. Encore une fois, bravo aux gagnants et aux gagnantes du concours.
Thank you, Andy.
So here's to our SSHRC Storytellers. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Thank you, Andy, for your remarks. It's great to see you again. I'm glad you remembered that example because it's really a good one. Congratulations to all of our winners. We're just thrilled to have you here today with us. Before we hear directly from them, though, I'd like to share a few words about the road that's led us to today's exciting announcement. This year, we received some 230 submissions from students spanning Newfoundland to British Columbia. It's an amazing showing, especially considering these students were working on their submissions at the height of a pandemic wave. In February, a jury of 30 communications experts selected 25 finalists whose submissions stood out in their ability to inform, inspire, and engage. These students' investments of creative energy have brought ideas grounded in SSHRC-funded research to light in so many new ways. Each finalist earned $3,000 and a place in the next phase of the challenge, a chance to become one of the final 5 winners. For these top 25 students, March and April were probably a bit of a blur. They took a research communications workshop together to hone their presentation skills. They refined their elevator pitches, and they were given just one shot to wow our final 5 jury in 180 seconds, only 3 minutes, with a live virtual presentation of their research story. Nous aurons bientôt l'occasion de voir les lauréates et lauréats faire leur incroyable présentation. Mais tout d'abord, j'aimerais vous présenter les membres du jury qui les ont choisis. Monsieur Marc Lapage, ancien président de Genome Canada, Nicolas Luxic, producteur de l'émission Radio Ideas de la CBC, Manon Tremblay, directrice principale, direction autochtone à l'Université Concordia, et finalement Jacqueline Wallace, Vice President, Marketing et Communication à MyTax. I'll now ask Jacqueline to say a few words on behalf of the jury about the judging process. Madame.
Thanks, Ted. It's a real pleasure to be here today. Merci, Ted. C'est un vrai honneur d'être ici aujourd'hui. On behalf of the jury, I think I can safely say that it has been tremendously rewarding to experience all of the top 25 finalist stories. Each storyteller demonstrated creativity, care, and skill in crafting their story that explained their research and its impact and importance. The diversity of the social science and humanities research and the nature of the projects was also impressive, as were the storytelling methods. We had music, soundscapes, rhymes, and transformative tales by 25 capable researchers. It was no easy task, I can tell you, to select the top 5. So a big congratulations to all the storytellers, and thank you for sharing your talent with us today.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. We look forward to hearing a bit more from our incredible judges when they engage with our winners a little later in the program. In addition to our final 5, there is in fact a 6th prize up for grabs today. And I'll turn the mic over to Ursula Goebel, SSHRC's Vice President of Stakeholder Engagement and Advancement of Society, to explain the Stakeholders Engagement Prize and announce this year's winner. Ursula.
Thanks, Ted. Yes, the Storytellers Challenge indeed has become more popular with each passing year. In our first year in 2013, we had about 87 submissions, and we now regularly surpass 200. Along with the growth in submissions comes also a greater level of engagement between the social sciences and humanities scholars and the greater public. So to encourage that engagement, SSHRC offers the Storytellers Engagement Prize, through which we recognize the individual from among our top 25 finalists who most creatively and effectively promotes their submission, the Storytellers Challenge itself, and the benefits of social science and humanities research. The engagement efforts inspired by this prize over the years have been really, truly impressive. They've resulted in newspaper articles, radio and television interviews, conversations with practitioners and policymakers, website launches, and lots of activity on social media. Il y a quelque chose d'extraordinaire à propos de ce prix. Ce que ce sont les finalistes eux-mêmes qui en déterminent le gagnant. Au début, du moins, les finalistes fait valoir à leurs pairs qu'ils étaient ceux qui avaient le mieux réussi à mobiliser le monde en général autour de leur histoire et de celle des autres finalistes. Puis leurs présentations ont été soumises à un vote secret. Cette année, le gagnant ou la gagnante reportera un montant supplémentaire de 1 000 $ en reconnaissance de son dévouement et de sa créativité pour faire rayonner la recherche financée par le CRSH. Je n'ai aucun doute que le prix a été très difficile pour les finalistes car tous ont rivalisé sur le plan des efforts déployés, de la détermination et de la qualité de réalisation. Pour faire la promotion de leur travail à tous et du concours dans son ensemble, ils ont recouru aux médias sociaux, accordé des entrevues, diffusé leurs présentations lors des événements connexes et partagé leur expérience positive avec leur famille, leurs camarades, leurs collègues et même leurs partenaires de recherche. So it is now my distinct pleasure to present the 2022 Storytellers Engagement Prize to Pierre-Anne Milliard from Memorial University in Newfoundland. Congratulations, Pierre-Anne. I encourage everyone to take time to check out her storyteller submission, Timelines Using Archaeoentomology to Respond to Climate Change and Other Challenges. They can all be viewed on SSHRC's YouTube. Thank you so much. And back to you, Ted.
Thanks, Ursula, and congratulations, Pierre-Anne, on winning this very nice award. Now we get to hear from the 5 finalists themselves, and each one will have a chance to say a few words and to give their presentation and then field a question about their research. So we're going to start with Ariana Ellis. So congratulations, first of all, on your winning submission, the Decima Project, putting Florentine history on the map. You want to say a few words before you give us your presentation?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much. So yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to be one of the 5 winners from among so many incredible finalists and to be representing the University of Toronto as well as the Decima Project. So to begin, for a moment, imagine yourself on a street in Florence, Italy. The cobbles are hard under your feet and you can feel the sun warming your face as you tilt your head up to the great marble dome of the cathedral curving over the rooftops. When you look down once again, the tall pillars of the Museum of Anthropology and Ethnology greet you. All around is the bustle of people, the groan of carts, and the soft tolling of bells, but you keep looking at the pillars. And slowly they seem to melt away until what remains is a small Renaissance storefront with a young woman smiling and beckoning you inside. Now, the reason you're seeing this woman on the small packed streets of Florence is because the night before, you went online to the University of Toronto's digitally encoded Census Information and Mapping Archive, or Decima for short. You then opened the interactive map of Florence, and you found this house. Oh, beg your pardon. This house, just south of the cathedral. Using the website's embedded Italian glossaries, you were able to tell that in 1561, there was a shop where the museum now stands. It was owned by Monna Tita, the wife of Giovanni Domenico Spadini, and 8 people lived there together. Now you can imagine the noise and the chaos that must have existed in that shop. And it is this kind of historical immediacy that the Decima Project creates. The layering of a 16th century map on the modern day Florence streets becomes the foundation to display census data that our team has deciphered from early archival records. By converting this dense handwriting into easily readable and understandable information, Decima allows researchers, students, and travelers to explore the human layers of history, identifying community networks through links like commerce or religion. Decima's interactivity has also been used to enrich classroom environments. When I brought Decima into my classroom, I got to see firsthand how excited students become when they can directly manipulate and explore the past. It instills within them a sense of connection to that past and reinforces the importance of making history accessible, something Decima also does by maintaining its data as open access. Decima is also connected with a number of international partner projects, foster student-led projects, and now we have turned our work to the city of Livorno, Italy, where we will use this accessible platform to immerse the senses through soundscapes and 3D reconstructions in order to bring its early modern population to life as we have with Florence. Technology has the unique ability to let us exist in the past and the present at the same time. Decima harnesses this power to allow anyone to foster and grow their love for history. By allowing the past to embrace the present, we can use it to mold our futures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ariana. That was great. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Fillmore has a question or two for you. There he is.
Please.
I'm sure
Hi,
he does.
Ariana. That was absolutely fascinating. As a student of architecture, I loved the drawings and the evocation of old Florence. And as a city planner, your use of data and databases to bring back that experience is really touches close to home. So thank you. So I just want to ask you, what drew you to work on medieval history and the Decima Project in particular in the first place?
Yeah. So I have actually loved medieval history since I was very little, because my father loved medieval history and loves medieval history still, and would read me bedtime stories of Henry VIII and his wives. And it was just so human and so real. So I proceeded to do 2 degrees in it, started working on a third, and began working with Dr. Nicholas Terpstra, who's one of the heads of the Decima project. And when he showed me this project, I just thought, what an incredible digital tool for making history more human and bringing out that side of it that brought me to it in the first place. And I was so excited to be a part of it.
So in all your work, what is the most interesting or surprising? What would you like to share? What was the one thing you found about 16th century life in Florence?
Well, a really interesting thing is how detailed and nuanced all the processions were, from things like festivals to the kind of work that my thesis focuses on, which is public executions, where, for example, someone would walk with the condemned and pull a piece of art in front of them so they could focus on it. And it was all very laid out, very theatrical. And this is something that Decima is actually working to work with in the future. My colleague, Heather Smith, is building kind of soundscape reconstructions that will go on the map so people can actually access it more directly. I find the degree to which it was planned just absolutely fascinating.
Your enthusiasm is evident. Thank you so much for that and for your work, and best of luck with everything. Can't wait to see where it all leads.
Thank you so much.
And thanks again to you both. So I believe Zora is going to join us on the stage. And there she is. So Zora, would you like to say a few words before you give us your presentation?
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks to all the other contestants, top 5, top 25. Well done, everybody. It was, quick turnarounds and an excellent showing from everyone. You're doing some great work out there. And thank you foremost to Dr. Drameva, whose work this is originating from. My own work is ineligible for any sort of funding from SSHRC because I am an international student. So even though there's really great work that's going on in grads all over the country, we can't participate in the process in the same way that people with permanent residency and citizenship can. So this is a great way to still get involved despite my status. All right, so I'm gonna breathe for a second here. You're gonna hear some sounds coming through that are not just my voice, so hopefully you can hear those. I'm not just running I don't have another Facebook window open in the background. That's part of the program. Okay, so listen for just a moment. Be very quiet. What do you hear? You probably can't smell much, probably can't feel anything, but you can hear something. What does it say about where you are? What does it say about where you're going? You can close your eyes against light. You can put your hands in your pockets so as not to touch, but you can't shut your ears. The sounds of our environment are always driving into us, surrounding us, showing us what the world is made of, what we feel is important. If you could cut a sound out of your life forever, what would it be? If you could create your perfect day in a favorite neighborhood, what would it sound like while you move through the streets? Cityscape is an interactive board game that lets you remake the urban world through sound. If you're playing a character that values industry, like an entrepreneur or city planner, then you want to get those crews working by playing a building card. If you're a farmer who thinks your city needs more outdoor markets and festivals, you're going to need some space for people to gather, so you would play a park card. The game board reacts when you put down a card, and those reactions have consequences. There's a speaker that plays back a sound mix so you can hear in real time how your actions matter. You can work together or against other players to mix up something new. Reimagine and remake your urban world how you see fit. By encouraging people to consider their neighborhoods and cityscapes in new ways, we can explore ideas of responsibility and interconnectedness with others in our community. Noise in a city is governed by social values, animals, laws, and just a little bit of chance. Cityscape shows how our actions, even unseen, are still heard and felt by the humans and non-humans around us.
Thank you. Thank you, Zora. So I have a question for you, if that's okay. What kind of impact do you hope the Cityscape game might have on the future of urban city planning, in particular with regards to inclusivity and accessibility?
Yeah, great question. So the game relies really heavily on different roles that you play. So you can play, like I said, from like a developer or an activist or a tree or a pigeon. These are roles that you will inhabit, and all of these different roles have different goals and have different values, right? A pigeon wants something to be and sound very different than maybe a tree does, or a suburban farmer. So by being able to kind of acknowledge that there are different community groups with different needs that are then built into the environment, that the product of that building is the soundscape, right? The product of what we implement is the sound. So by acknowledging that there are like different stakeholders at so many different levels, and that even if you have a community that is producing a certain type of sound, that still impacts other communities and other stakeholders in that area. So hopefully just to sensitize, different communities and different ideas, needs, and wants.
That's great, and we thank you for that. So we're going to move on again to welcome our final five winner, Arvin Jagayat. And congratulations, Arvin, on your submission, Designing Against Misinformation. So same drill, maybe say a few words about your project, and then let's see it. We're all looking for it. And I think you might be on mute, or at least I can't hear you. Can you hear Arvin? Or no? If you go on translation in English, you can hear him. So you might want to try that. Arvin? Yep, you're good. So just go on translation in English and then we can hear you. That's the little globe on the bottom there. Just hit that and pick English and you should be able to hear Arvin. So you can start again. If that's okay, sorry. Yeah, good to go. Good to go. I'll let everybody know in chat to go on the translation. Thanks, Arvin. That's great. I understand that one of our jury members, Nicola Lux, is going to ask you a question. So Nicola, you go ahead.
Yes, congratulations. Such crucial work that you're doing. So my question for you, because you obviously mentioned the torrent of misinformation, rage, disinformation in the social media world today, as we see all around us. Was there a particular incident in your own experience or something you observed in the world that crystallized in your mind the need for this kind of behavior tracking tool?
That's great. Thanks to you both, and congratulations again, Arvin. Now we'll wait for Vinci Lee to join us on the stage.
Hi there.
Vinci,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Oh, there we are.
Now I can see you.
Great.
Congratulations on your submission, by the way, crowdfunding for our lives. So please proceed, a couple of words, and we're dying to see your presentation. So go ahead.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Bonjour. My name is Vinci. I'm joining today from the traditional unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. I'd like to thank SSHRC and the incredible team of organizers for supporting us and our work. And today I'd like to introduce you to my research project by telling you a little story here. So there once was a duck named Doris who lived in an enchanted forest. But one day she unexpectedly fell ill. The last thing she should have to worry about is bills. Percy Pig wanted to help and had just the idea. I'll start a GoFundMe like my friend did for her pizzeria. What's that? Asked Doris. What's a GoFundMe? Well, it's a website where you start a campaign and then you get money from friends, family, maybe even strangers. Haven't you heard? It's been touted as a real game changer. Okay, said Doris Duck. I guess it doesn't hurt to try. Seems better than these applications for charities, disability, EI. Doris Duck browsed through GoFundMe and was so surprised to see just how many campaigns there were for Canadians like you and me. From accidents, transplants, illness and disease, to cancer, rehab, and gender affirmation surgeries. But you have universal health care, they say. Isn't it free? Yes, we're very thankful, but there are still gaps, you see. Deshaun Dogg's amputation was covered, plus some basic limbs, but not the kind he needs to go for a run or swim. Alina Ant ran out of sick days caring for her son. She told him, you'll need a job with health benefits once your OHIP is done. So Percy Pig got to work writing up Doris's story. He read through GoFundMe's advice and followed it to a T. Campaigns with 4 to 8 words work best, with photos no less than 5. Be creative and inspiring, record a video or go live. Be honest, use a hashtag, contact your local news, send emails, update often, create urgency for more views. So Doris's campaign went up and support came in from her family and workplace. But Doris Duck has mixed feelings. I feel like a charity case. I'm thankful, of course, but I cannot help but wonder why Sandra Squirrel's GoFundMe had hardly any funders. Our situations were similar, her story just as sad. I paid forward what I could, but I still feel really bad. Now, if you're feeling a bit cheated by the way that story ended, you're right. And I want you to hold on to that feeling, because GoFundMe rarely delivers fairy tale endings. Most medical GoFundMe campaigns in North America actually fail to reach their goal. Now, the animal characters in this story are fictional, but their stories are not. These are the real experiences of people that I've interviewed for my research. And so far, what I've been hearing is that you don't realize where your personal and social safety nets fall short until it happens to you. And that's why their stories need to be told, so that together we can build more fair and equitable systems of healthcare and social services in this country. Thank you.
Okay, Vinci, thank you for that. Don't go away, because I see that one of our jury members, Manon Tremblay, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you. And thank you, Vinci. My goodness, how creative. And it rhymed too. I was so struck the first time that I heard your presentation. And I think that, you know, this research is so timely, because there are more and more people who are turning to crowdfunding to pay for the unexpected expenses related to health. And I'm wondering basically whether your research indicates whether people are lured into a false sense of hope by the handful of high-profile success stories, and also whether these stories really are as successful as we were led to believe in the medium to long term.
Sure, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you, Manon. So one of my research participants did express this sense of disappointment when only family and friends contributed to their campaign. I don't think that they were expecting to go viral, but they had really hoped that their story would reach and touch people in the broader community. So I think that users are definitely, their expectations are definitely shaped by what we see and hear in the mainstream news. And that leads me to the second part of your question. And again, I would say that like the kinds of campaigns that we hear about are often the ones where, you know, funds are needed for a very expensive drug or treatment that's not covered by Canadian healthcare. But really the more common scenario is that money is needed to pay for things like everyday bills, rent, and, you know, even like hospital parking fees. And it's not flashy, but in many cases, it really helps people avoid debt or even at least hold it off for a little while. So that really raises the question about GoFundMe and which situations it's good for and which situations it's not good for. So namely, it works really well for emergencies and one-time requests, but many people who are sick are unfortunately sick for a long time. So they run out of sick days, they run out of employment insurance, and their financial needs don't just end after the campaign. So I would encourage everyone listening in today to, you know, ask ourselves honestly this question. You know, I think we're happy to open up our wallets for the first time that somebody asks for money through a GoFundMe, but what about like the second time or a third time? So really that's one of the central questions of my research project is what kinds of situations or stories does GoFundMe privilege, and in turn, who gets left out of this system?
Okay, thanks to you both. Okay, we're going to move on to our last five finalists. So that's Victoria Waghiran, and her submission is The Placement Project, a closer look at young people in child placement. So I think you know the drill by now. If you want to say a few words, and we're dying to hear your presentation.
Yes.
So go ahead, Victoria.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. So happy you guys are all here to hear my presentation. It's something I'm very passionate about because I do have lived experience in child welfare, and I do think that that kind of brings my presentation together. So I'm going to jump right in. I became a Crown Ward when I was 3 years old, and I grew up in a variety of different foster homes and group homes. Could you imagine being taken away from your family and everything you know at a young age just to be placed in an unfamiliar home with people you've never met? As devastating as this sounds, this is something that happens to roughly 10,000 children in Ontario. Although child protection services are put in place to protect the child, I ask myself, at what cost? What impact does this have on the child to be removed from everything they know? And not only the child, but how does child removal affect the people in their inner circle? So their mom, dad, aunts, brothers, cousins. I ask you, who would be affected in your inner circle if you were removed and placed to a new home with people you didn't know? I am proud to be the research lead on the Placement Project. The Placement Project explores the perspectives of many youth in care, along with the people in their inner network. Using a qualitative case study methodology, the placement project team is conducting interviews with both young people and members of their relationship network to better understand the perspectives of the many people who are affected. Some of the questions guiding this research include: what beliefs do people who experience child placement hold about the care that young people need to be successful? And how are child placement processes understood and experienced? Our research team is developing a deep, contextualized understanding of what really happens, how it happens, and what it was like for the young person and everyone involved in the story. This research will allow policymakers and those who work in systems of child welfare to better understand what works and what doesn't from the perspective of those who've lived it. I bring unparalleled expertise to this space because this is also my life. I'm conducting this research, but I've also lived this research. Me-search, if you will. As a youth who was removed from my family at a very young age, I remember how no one asked me what out-of-home care was really like. As a child, I continually told myself that one day I was going to speak up and make changes to the way placement decisions are being made for young people in child welfare systems. It is well known that changes need to happen in the child welfare system here in Ontario, and who better to help influence those changes than those who have lived experiences in child welfare. As an African Canadian, former youth in care, and former member of the Premier's Council on Equality of Opportunity, I believe the knowledge that I bring is rich, and it will produce findings that I will share with people who can make a positive difference in my community.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
And I see, don't run away. Oh, I see Jacqueline Wallace is back and she's going to ask you a question. So go ahead.
Hi, Victoria. Your research is tremendous. Your passion is just really incredible. Congratulations on being one of the top 5 storytellers. I really appreciated your story on the placement project, and I have a question for you. So you mentioned that your research stems from your personal lived experience in the child welfare system. I absolutely loved how you called it me-search.
Yes.
Our personal experience can be an important perspective in the genesis of new research. And so I'd just love to know, how has your experience been in bringing this research to life through the Storytellers competition? And perhaps what you would tell your friends and family about translating this research to a broader public.
Oh my goodness. So I would just say that this research is so necessary, and I've just known this my whole life because I grew up in care. Doing this research and actually interviewing people who went through similar but different experiences as me really spotlights how important these issues are. And it's not just me, it's other people. So I have to be honest and say that this research, it's emotional for me. I'm surprised at how emotional it makes me feel to know that there's actually other people who, were going through these things, and, the wrong people are making the decisions. So what I would say is, when we're making decisions for people who are, being placed in different homes with people they don't know, let's talk to the child. Let's get their input, because at the end of the day, it's their life and they should have a seat at that table.
That's great. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.
Okay. And that concludes the Storytellers presentations and the question and answer session. But I want to thank everyone again for participating today. I want to congratulate again all of our final 5 award winners. And I'm going to ask Ursula to come back to say a few words before we formally close our event. Ursula?
Thank you, Ted. And thank you to everyone for your wonderful participation today. Tremendous to hear and so inspiring to hear our Storytellers top 5 presentation. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. Thanks as well to Laura Chakowski and the wonderful team at the Federation, who've been working behind the scenes for a few months now to bring the Storytellers Challenge to life on our virtual stage. And once again, to those who've joined us, we encourage you to visit all of the top 25 storyteller presentations, as well as the final 5. And you can share more and learn more about their stories by following us on social media through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and use the hashtags SSHRC Storytellers et Récite le SSH. Thank you so much, and encourage lots of students to join the next Storytellers Challenge when we launch next year, later this year.
Absolutely. Merci, Ursula. Okay. Jerry, are you coming back onto the stage? Or am I going to close off?
Oh, I think you're going to close off.
Okay. Jerry, you want to close off? You can close off. Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Merci.
Merveilleux, fantastique. Félicitations encore. Félicitations encore aux 25 finalistes et aux 5 lauréates et lauréats. Okay. Can everyone hear me? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. So thanks, Jerry. So félicitations encore aux 25 finalistes et aux 5 lauréates et lauréats.
And thank you, Andy, for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Should I continue? I'm not quite sure what's happening here.
No, we're all good.
Okay, I will keep going.
That's a wrap.